The global economy is experiencing a slow, painful death, a chain reaction, a domino effect. At the Money GPS, more than any other program, I consistently cover the indicators, not opinions, which prove this point very well. Here are 12 charts which prove the collapse has already begun. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's get into these charts today. Always like to cover the charts, though I'm not necessarily a technicals type guy. I'm sure many of you are not either, but we use this to prove a point to ourselves and to the deniers. So let's get into this very quickly. No need to spend much time on them. Historical economic recoveries average 40 months. So you can see that black dotted line that goes across there. And we see it's on average 40 months. But we're now at 74. And then you look at the previous crashes. Some of them have been longer. Many of them have been shorter. So we can see we're definitely on the long end of this. And it is really remarkable to see with the amount of effort that the government has been putting in with all the QE and all these other sort of schemes like Operation Twist and everything else they've been doing. It hasn't had an effect. Well, that shouldn't surprise anybody, but it seems to surprise the mainstream media. So let's look on with this one here at a Street Talk Live, annual changes in durable goods orders. What they are suggesting here is that these levels of annual changes in orders have been precursors of recessions in the past. Now, the previous two are obviously a little worse, but we're not really in the depths of this at the moment. It's just begun its decline, that's all. So the last few times this has happened, we have had a crash. Now, this can be solved temporarily by kicking the can down the road, just print a few more $1 trillion from the Fed, and you can get this to basically be postponed for some time more. Will they do that? We'll have to see. Total real private fixed investment as a percentage of real GDP. We can see that declining as well. Real money is fleeing the system. In fact, much of it is going under the mattresses. A lot of the businesses are concerned with what to do. They are engaging in stock buybacks at this time. They're not necessarily investing in the future. Apple was hurting today as a result of their devices that they brought out not really sparking any real excitement from the public, and they shouldn't be, because it is simply more of the same in that category. What we need is major breakthroughs to occur to help us as citizens, not necessarily new gadgets and things like that, but that isn't really the topic of today's video. Cumulative growth in population, 16 to over versus unemployment. So we're looking right here at the total increase in population, and you can see that on the left-hand side there, the bar graph, and then on the right side of it is the total increase in employment. This is from June 2009 until present. And what we have is the same trend that has been going on for quite some time, and that is the population's growing, but the employment is not. And that is a very big disaster, because that already today is a very, very big problem. But it's just going to be exacerbated further. Then we look at this, capacity utilization versus industrial production. All right. So the industrial production is obviously something that has been a problem for quite some time. We see this with the factories basically been shipped overseas. Nobody wants to do business in the West because it's too expensive. The only time they want to do that is when they can run their business offshore, make all the profits over there, and then bring them back tax-free somehow here. So that's what we have to look at when we look at industrial production. It's gone. It's never coming back. Social benefits as a percentage of real disposable income. A couple things to look at here. What they're suggesting is social benefits as a percentage of real disposable incomes are near the highest levels on record. That shouldn't surprise you. Look at the food stamp numbers, the disability, all of these other factors all add up to make this a very, very concerning statistic or indicator to look at. From my book, what I was talking about is the government spending. And we have a big problem with this because if they continue to go on this route, obviously there's disaster. They can't, in fact, return. There's no possible way. But let's look at this. Clearly, the solution would be to reduce government spending of the government programs and reduce the size of the government dramatically. Unfortunately, the result of this would be that the people would not tolerate this and would start to riot. So what would happen if all of a sudden the food stamp program ended tomorrow, or was cut in half, or perhaps they couldn't afford the so-called entitlement programs? What would they do? Well, people would take to the streets, they would riot. So the government has this real issue that they need to deal with because they sort of don't have the money to give to the people, but they have to, or else they'll riot. So they're sort of in this predicament that I see getting worse and worse and worse. And here's 6 charts at once. You can check this out for yourself if you'd like to. The font is quite small, so I'll just cover it quickly. Personal income, employment, industrial production, consumer spending, personal savings rate, and the GDP are all in decline. This one page, this one link alone, of course, all the links always in the descriptions of my videos, not like others who never include any of their sources but make a lot of claims. These are sourced right here. You can see that these 6 all show, all very important indicators, all on a decline. And this is multi-year. You're looking at these from approximately 1960. And the charts, some of them end in 2011, some of them up to the present day. And what we're seeing here is a decline. Now, this should be frightening to the average person. They should be concerned about this because this is the real indicators that we need to look at, not the unemployment rate. You look at the employment numbers. Those are much more important. And once again, I've covered this many times before, but I just like to continuously show you the newest and updated data because that's how we stay on top of this. People are constantly saying how, you know what, there's no collapse. There is no collapse. There'll never be a collapse, or sure, it'll be a collapse, but it'll be in 10 years from now, 100 years from now, and so on. Look at these charts. Just look at the reality of this, and we can see specifically that things are getting worse every single day. Yes, they can kick the can down the road, but what has happened to the global economy over these years? We used to have one income paying for all of the expenses of a given family. Now we have 2 incomes that cannot even keep up. If that isn't concerning to anyone, well, then perhaps I'm on the wrong page. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Those are huge. They help me out quite a bit. Love all the comments. Love all the emails. Trying to get back to some emails. I also am trying to get back to these comments. There's so many pouring in, and I really do appreciate that. I read them all and try to get back to as many as I can. I usually reply to the current day's comments as well as the previous days. Sometimes I fall a bit behind and try to catch up, but I do read all your comments, so please send them my way. Last but not least, if you found this video informative, I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. And you can actually flip through the book. If you go over to Amazon, they have this look inside feature, which allows you to flip through the book and see if you like it for yourself. Take care.